When a woman stops talking to you, don't panic. Don't double text. Don't overthink it. Don't ask what you did wrong. Because the truth is, most men mess up their entire life in this moment. You think her silence means she's moved on. You think you need to fix something. But what if I told you, her silence isn't rejection, it's an invitation, not to chase, not to beg, but to finally become the version of you that doesn't fold when people pull away. And if you do this wrong, not only do you lose her, you lose yourself. Comment, I choose strength, if you're ready to change your life now. Number 1, don't chase. You sit there refreshing the chat, hoping her name lights up your screen again, and it doesn't. Your chest tightens, your thoughts race, and you try to convince yourself not to care, while simultaneously caring more than ever. You start analyzing every message, every emoji, every delay in her responses, convincing yourself maybe she's busy, maybe she's just tired, maybe she's testing you, maybe she just forgot. But deep down, you know something shifted, and instead of facing that shift like someone grounded in truth, you start contorting yourself, editing your texts to seem more appealing, funnier, less needy, more agreeable, more likable, and every time you send another message without a reply, something in you starts to shrink, and you don't even realize that with every unreciprocated effort, you're training yourself to ignore your own self-worth. Because chasing isn't just what you do, it's what you become. And the second you become the one trying harder, you lose leverage, not because trying is wrong, but because trying for someone who isn't trying for you erodes the very structure that makes connection possible. And in that moment, you don't even realize how bad it's gotten, because no one teaches you how to handle withdrawal from attention when you've made it your oxygen. No one tells you that you don't need to win her back. You need to win yourself back, the version of you who didn't need validation to feel worthy, the version who wasn't shaken by silence or distant energy, the version of you who used to wake up and think about his mission, his body, his vision, his principles, not some ghost who used to text back with heart emojis and now replies with cold indifference or nothing at all. And this is where it becomes real. Because chasing isn't always obvious. It hides in subtleties like checking her likes, watching her stories anonymously, replying to something she didn't even ask, showing up in her world in little digital ways just so she doesn't forget you exist, but she already has. Not because you don't matter, but because you taught her you'd always be available, and anything that's always available becomes invisible, and this is what no one tells you. You think being available is loyalty, but when it's not matched, it's self-abandonment. And the cost of that abandonment is not just her disinterest, it's your slow erosion of confidence. Because a man who can't walk away becomes a man who can't command anything. And before you know it, you're not living for yourself. You're living in response to someone who isn't responding at all. And here's the deeper truth. Chasing doesn't make you desirable. It makes you predictable, and predictability without respect equals disinterest. And the part that hurts the most is that your effort is real, your heart is real, your loyalty is real, but your strategy is broken. And unless you step back and stop investing in people who stopped investing in you, you will spend your entire life proving your worth to people who already decided they don't value it. And I don't care how good she looks, how deep the connection felt, or how much potential you saw. Potential without reciprocity is fantasy, and most men are addicted to the fantasy of what could be, instead of facing the reality of what is. And the reality is this. She stopped showing up, and you kept running in circles trying to fill the gap. And the longer you run, the further you get from your own power, because chasing is emotional bankruptcy. It's spending your energy in a place where there's no return. And that's not just painful, it's pathetic. Not because you are, but because you're living beneath who you are. And you don't need her to choose you. You need to choose to stop betraying yourself. And the second you do, the second you pull your energy back, the shift begins. Not in her, but in you, because everything changes when you stop needing people to validate you in order to feel valuable. And that is the root of chasing, the false belief that someone else's attention defines your worth. But it doesn't. And the moment you stop chasing and start choosing yourself, you will feel pain, withdrawal, loneliness. But those feelings are your teacher, not your enemy, because they reveal just how addicted you were to being seen. And this is where the Stoic part kicks in. You don't control her replies, her mood swings, her interest, her story. You control you, your focus, your boundaries, your effort, and your path. And as long as your path is determined by her GPS, you will always be lost. And here's where it turns. When you stop chasing, she might notice, she might not, but that's irrelevant. Because this isn't about getting her back, it's about getting your dignity back. And you can't fake that. You have to earn it by standing firm, resisting the urge to reach out when it's not mutual, holding your line when everything in you wants to fold. And this is the real test of strength, not how much you can bench, but how much rejection you can face without flinching, how much silence you can endure without folding, how much absence you can handle without begging, because life will keep throwing you these moments until you pass. And passing doesn't mean getting her attention again. It means never needing it in the first place. It means being so grounded in who you are and what you value, that if someone walks, you don't follow, you refocus. And the way you build that is by investing in yourself more than you invest in temporary people, by putting your phone down and picking up your standards, by learning how to be alone without being lonely, by seeing your worth without being seen. And I know that's hard, especially when your heart's involved, when you built something in your mind that never fully happened in reality, when you thought she was the one. But let me ask you something. If you have to chase someone to keep them, are they really yours? And if someone walks away the moment you stop overextending, were they ever really with you? Because real connection doesn't need to be chased, it needs to be met. And if she's not meeting you, she's not for you. And the moment you accept that, you stop trying to fix what isn't broken. You stop trying to repair what isn't yours to repair. And you start doing the one thing that actually changes everything. You stop chasing her and start building you, not to get her back, but so you never again need someone who's not showing up. Because the man who doesn't chase isn't heartless, he's disciplined, he's intentional, he's built from the inside out, not validated from the outside in. And when you live like that, you stop getting attached to people's attention and start getting addicted to your own purpose. And that purpose becomes your anchor when people drift, your direction when others are inconsistent, your clarity when emotions get loud. And in that space, the right ones stay, the wrong ones fade, and you never chase again. Not because you're cold, but because you're clear. And if that clarity is something you're finally ready to live with every day, then the Stoic relationship blueprint is for you, because it was written for this exact moment in your life, for the version of you that's done chasing and ready to build, filled with the exact timeless principles that helped rebuild men just like you into grounded, powerful, focused individuals who stopped letting emotions run their lives and started building standards that no one could shake. And now this life-changing guide is available as an audiobook, so you can listen to the truth while you walk, drive, jog, or even sit with your thoughts, letting every word settle deep into the part of you that's tired of feeling lost. Because this isn't just a book, it's a shift. And once you own it forever, with lifetime access to the exact mindset, disciplines, and tools you need to stay solid, no matter who stays or goes. So don't just survive another heartbreak, outgrow it, and grab your copy now in the comments. Number 2, stay calm and confident. Silence doesn't mean panic unless it finds a mind that's never learned how to stay still under pressure. And in the world today, most people have been trained to react instead of reflect, to chase instead of observe, to respond to discomfort with movement. Because stillness feels like weakness, when in fact it's the birthplace of every form of self-mastery. And the moment her energy shifts, or she pulls back, or the messages slow down, or her tone gets colder, the majority instantly trade calm for chaos, replacing inner stability with outer noise, jumping into their phones to check last messages, asking friends for advice, creating false narratives to soothe anxiety. But every one of those reactions confirms that control is external, not internal. And when control is external, so is peace. And when peace depends on someone else's presence, you're never actually living. You're just managing emotions that aren't yours to fix. And real power starts when nothing changes on the outside, but everything changes in how it's received on the inside. When distance doesn't dictate distress. When someone else's absence doesn't reduce your presence. When composure replaces confusion, not because you ignore what's happening, but because you refuse to let it shake the one thing that can never be outsourced: how you choose to carry yourself. And the truth is, she pulls back not always because she's lost interest, but often because she wants to feel the weight of your reaction. The test is not whether you care, but whether your care causes collapse. And most don't understand that calmness doesn't come from not feeling. It comes from not needing the world to adjust in order to feel okay. And without this understanding, everything becomes a threat, and every cold text becomes a trigger, and every unanswered message becomes a meaning, when in reality all of it is noise, if it has the power to steal your clarity. And the way to build calm is not by pretending nothing bothers you, but by slowly removing the triggers that make you betray yourself when discomfort arrives. And this starts with detachment, not from life or love, but from outcome. Because the root of chaos is attachment to what you cannot control. And the end of chaos is mastering the one thing you can. And what most fail to realize is that every time you react to her behavior, you teach her how much of yourself she controls. And when someone knows they can shift your day by shifting their tone, you've handed over the keys to your emotional world, and what follows isn't a relationship, it's a power imbalance. And when power is one-sided, attraction doesn't grow, it dies, because no one respects what's always shaking in response to their movements. And this is where you turn inward, not as an escape, but as a recalibration. And it begins with training the body to breathe when it wants to fight, to sit when it wants to fix, to watch when it wants to prove, to hold steady when it wants to explain. And calm isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It's felt in the pauses, in the way you don't interrupt her space with desperation, in the way you speak from clarity, not confusion, in the way you continue living without apologizing for not folding when she went distant, because confidence isn't what you say, it's what you don't have to. And the man who's calm when connection fades is the man who's invested in things deeper than comfort. And if you want to become him, you have to start where it hurts most, by asking yourself why someone pulling away feels like rejection instead of redirection, why you feel the need to prove instead of walk, why your mind races to fix what hasn't been said. And if you sit long enough with those questions, the answers won't scream. They'll whisper, but those whispers are the foundation of stillness, and from that stillness comes a presence that doesn't beg for validation, that doesn't require constant reassurance, that doesn't collapse when love looks uncertain. Because love that needs certainty isn't love. It's dependency dressed as connection. And when you remove the need for constant affirmation, you start seeing clearly who's showing up and who's performing, who's invested and who's manipulating, who's authentic and who's testing. And none of that matters to a man who's calm, because he isn't moved by temporary emotion. He's anchored in eternal principle. And that principle is this: you never allow someone else's behavior to decide your worth. You never give your peace in exchange for their presence, and you never lower your standard of behavior just to keep someone who doesn't value what you offer. And every time you choose calm over chaos, you become more dangerous. Not because you're unpredictable, but because you're unfazed, and unfazed men don't chase. They attract, not by games, but by gravity, by becoming so rooted in who they are that those who drift either return on their own or disappear without disruption. And the best part is that this version of you doesn't just win in relationships, it wins in everything. Because when you can stay focused while others flinch, when you can remain still while others scramble, when you can stay composed while others spiral, you separate from the masses who let emotion dictate every move. And in that separation you find freedom, because you no longer need the world to like you, call you, choose you, or explain themselves to you in order for you to sleep at night. You only need to know that no matter what happens, you don't break, you don't beg, you don't bend your spine trying to carry what's not yours. You just breathe, stay still, stand tall, and keep building. Number 3. Let her miss you. Closeness is not a guarantee of connection, and attention does not equal value, because people get used to anything they see too often, even if it once felt meaningful. And when someone knows you'll always be there, no matter how they treat you, no matter how they respond, no matter how much they withhold, they stop appreciating your presence, not because you changed, but because you allowed them to. And what most people misunderstand is that absence doesn't always create distance. Sometimes it creates depth, because you are not remembered when you're always available. You're remembered when your absence forces someone to face what life feels like without the energy they used to take for granted. And this is not about being manipulative, it's about being human, because humans only value what they feel they could lose. And as long as she feels she has unlimited access to your thoughts, your affection, your presence, your time, your vulnerability, there's no urgency for her to appreciate it, because there's no reason for her to reflect. And without reflection, there is no realization. And without realization, there is no respect. And without respect, there is no connection worth having. And if you always stay close, even when she pulls away, you rob her of the only experience that might wake her up, the space to feel the absence of what used to be hers. And that absence must be clean, not bitter, not vengeful, not loud, just quiet, complete and intentional. Because distance without dignity is not powerful, it's passive. And the reason most people never get to experience their true worth is because they're too busy proving it when it should be felt, not forced. And what's rarely said is that your presence will never be noticed if it's never removed. And the mistake most make is thinking more effort, more contact, more explaining, more "I miss you" messages will close the gap when all it does is widen it. Because now you're the one forcing connection, and she's the one choosing whether or not to receive it. And that's not love, that's imbalance. And imbalance never grows into intimacy. It breeds resentment, confusion, and ultimately withdrawal. Because nothing kills attraction faster than knowing someone will keep showing up, no matter how little you give in return. And it becomes a cycle where you try harder, and she tries less. And the less she tries, the more desperate you feel. And the more desperate you feel, the more she disconnects. Not because she hates you, but because deep down she no longer feels inspired by the interaction. Because inspiration cannot exist without space, and space cannot exist if you never allow her to experience life without your energy in it. And this is where it hurts, because you care deeply, and you want to fix it, and you want to be chosen, and you want to show her what she's missing. But you don't show her by saying it. You show her by disappearing from her life and appearing in your own. And this doesn't mean you punish her or pretend it doesn't hurt. It means you prioritize growth over guessing your next move based on someone else's silence. And when you step back fully, not halfway, not with hope, not waiting for her to reach out, but with full acceptance of whatever comes next, something begins to shift. Not always in her, sometimes in you, because the space she gave you becomes the space you use to start seeing clearly again. And clarity reveals that maybe you lost more than her. Maybe you lost your center. Maybe you forgot your value. Maybe you became the version of yourself that's always reacting and never choosing. And when you stop flooding her inbox and start rebuilding your own life, she might feel it, or she might not. But more importantly, you feel something return inside of you, your power, and it's not loud, it's not showy, it's quiet and focused, and begins with small moves, like putting your phone away during the times you used to check for her message, or taking care of your health in the time you used to spend, refreshing her page and filling your day with real progress, not distractions disguised as productivity. Because the only thing worse than someone not appreciating your worth is you becoming someone who needs to be appreciated in order to feel worthy. And that's what this is about. Not just letting her miss you, but letting yourself become too full to ever be someone who waits around for someone else to realize what you bring to the table, because the ones who see your worth won't need you to leave to feel it, and the ones who don't will only realize it after the door is closed and silence is permanent, not performative. And this is where most fail, because they leave halfway. They take space with the hope it brings someone back, instead of taking space because they understand that staying would continue the cycle of being overlooked and overextending. And this isn't about playing games. It's about ending the game that only you were playing, because if connection matters, it will be mutual. And if it's mutual, you won't need to make noise to be heard, or chase to be seen, or beg to be kept. And the reason people start missing you isn't because you make them. It's because you stop trying to prove what they already knew deep down. And sometimes they pretend they don't feel it because they don't want to admit they took it for granted. And sometimes they wait for you to crack so they don't have to feel the weight of losing something they thought they controlled. But when you don't crack, and you don't chase, and you don't explain, and you don't reappear, they begin to face themselves, not because you punished them, but because you protected your peace. And in that protection, you taught them what your presence was worth. And if they come back, you don't celebrate too soon, because someone returning doesn't mean they've changed. And someone missing you doesn't mean they're ready. And your role is not to be available the moment someone realizes what they had. It's to stay loyal to the new standard you created in their absence. Because growth doesn't happen in conversations. It happens in silence. And not the kind that manipulates, but the kind that matures. And only those who see that will be worthy of hearing your voice again. And until then, let them miss you not as punishment, but as proof that the best parts of you were never meant to be ignored. Number 4, focus on you. When everything feels like it's falling apart, the last thing that feels natural is to turn inward, because the world teaches distraction, not direction, and most people drown in the noise of others instead of confronting the silence within themselves. And it's in that silence where the real answer is buried, not in her texts, not in her tone, not in trying to decode her sudden distance, but in facing the question that haunts the quiet. What happened to you when you made someone else the center of a life you were supposed to build? And the truth is, it's not just about her pulling away. It's about you pulling away from yourself, little by little, every time you prioritized being liked over being real, every time you shrank to stay available, every time you ignored your purpose to chase comfort. And now that she's gone or distant or inconsistent, the pain you feel isn't just the loss of her. It's the realization that you don't know who you are without her attention. And that's the problem, because no one is supposed to be your compass. And when they are, you lose direction. And when you lose direction, you wake up checking your phone instead of checking your habits. You count messages instead of counting reps. You look for closure instead of building clarity. And what most men never realize is that the void she left behind was always there. She just distracted you from seeing it. And now that it's exposed, you're forced to confront the version of yourself you've been avoiding. And that version doesn't need a new partner. It needs a new pattern. One where your focus is no longer on who left, but on what you allowed to die in you while trying to keep them close. And this isn't about healing to win someone back. It's about growing to never need someone who isn't invested in your vision. And that growth is quiet. It's the type that doesn't show up in social media, captions, or dramatic transformations. It shows up in choosing discipline over dopamine in trading, comfort for structure, in turning your evenings into preparation instead of pain relief. And the fastest way to regain your strength is not through distractions or rebounds or revenge. It's through facing yourself completely by asking, what did I neglect? What did I delay? What did I suppress to maintain a connection that wasn't mutual? And when you answer those questions without excuses, the truth will sting. But that sting is what wakes you up. And from that pain comes a new hunger, a drive not for validation, but for restoration. And that restoration starts in your body, because a weak body carries a weak mind. And every day you let your body atrophy, you tell the world you've given up before you've even started. And it's not about abs or aesthetics. It's about command. It's about training your nervous system to obey your decisions instead of your desires. It's about waking up with intention instead of reacting to life's disappointments. And when you start focusing on your body, your energy changes, your posture changes, your eyes change, and the world notices, not because you post about it, but because you walk differently. And after the body comes the mission, because men without missions become slaves to emotions. And if your entire day revolves around thoughts of her, you don't have a mission, you have an addiction, and the only way to break it is to replace it with purpose. And that purpose isn't found in books or podcasts. It's found in doing what you said you'd do long after the excitement wore off, in keeping promises to yourself when no one's watching, in building something so solid that rejection becomes irrelevant, because your identity no longer depends on being chosen. And that's the real breakthrough, when your value is no longer up for negotiation, because you finally built something of value within, and people feel that when they're around you, because your silence has weight and your presence has authority, not because you pretend to be alpha, but because you actually have your own direction. And that direction makes you dangerous, not in the way that scares people, but in the way that draws respect. And every moment you spend chasing what left is a moment you could have spent creating what lasts. And this is the pivot from reactive to proactive, from broken to rebuilding, from emotional slave to inner architect. And it doesn't happen all at once. It happens in hours, stacked with discipline, in choices that no one claps for, in nights where you pick progress over pity, and in habits that no longer revolve around her timelines and moods, but around your own future. And when you live like this, something strange happens. The same people who left or pulled back or played games often return, not because they changed, but because you did. But now you don't need them, because you've become someone who only makes room for people who match the level of investment you've given yourself. And that's the twist. The goal isn't to win her back. It's to become so locked into your own evolution that the loss becomes your leverage. And if she never returns, that's fine, because you already did. Number 5. Reclaim your value. The hardest truth to swallow is realizing that the person you wanted the most is the same one who taught you how little you truly respected yourself. Because every time you made excuses for their inconsistency, every time you waited for a text that didn't come, every time you lowered your standards to keep them around, even when you felt the shift, even when the words didn't match the actions, even when you saw the patterns repeat, but still kept showing up, hoping they would see your heart. You weren't being loyal, you were being lost, and it wasn't their rejection that broke you. It was the way you abandoned your own worth to earn their attention. And this is the moment when reality hits, because what you thought was love was often just fear of being alone. And what you called effort was really a fear of being forgotten. And that fear made you forget everything about who you were before they walked in. And now that they're distant or cold or gone, You feel like you lost a part of yourself, and you did. But not because they took it, because you gave it willingly in the name of affection. And now you're sitting in silence, trying to make sense of the chaos, when the answer has always been the same. You forgot what you were worth. And now it's time to remember, and remembering starts with unlearning every false belief that told you you needed to be chosen to feel enough, because real value is never proven it's owned. And the only reason you keep looking backward is because you still haven't accepted that they saw your worth and chose not to honor it. And no matter how many conversations you replay in your head, no matter how many chances you wish you could have, again, it all comes back to this one question. Why did you need someone to choose you to feel chosen? And when you finally answer that question, without running from the pain, the rebuilding begins, not by becoming someone better to impress them, but by becoming someone stronger. So you never allow yourself to be treated like an option again. And this is where it turns, because once you stop chasing answers from people who can't even be honest with themselves, you realize the closure you needed was never in their hands. It was always in your decision to stop outsourcing your self-worth. And that decision starts now, not tomorrow, not after one more message, not after one more memory tonight. Now, in the moment where you decide that no more begging, no more waiting, no more shrinking, no more proving, because the version of you who keeps hoping they'll wake up is the same version who forgot how powerful they already are. And to reclaim that power, you must walk away without waiting for permission. And walking away isn't just physical, it's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual. It's a clean break from every pattern that taught you to question your value. And that break begins with boundaries, not walls, but standards that don't bend when emotions are high and hormones are louder, because too many are addicted to the feeling of connection, even when it comes at the cost of self-respect. And this is the lesson you were meant to learn, that the pain of letting go is temporary, but the pain of losing yourself is lifelong. And every time you ignore red flags, every time you settle for breadcrumbs, every time you justify disrespect, you're teaching the world that you can be loved without being valued. And that ends now. And it ends with discipline, not emotion, because emotion says reach out. But discipline says, remember how it felt when they made you question your worth. Emotion says one more try. But discipline says, you already tried while they barely lifted a finger. Emotion says, stay available. But discipline says, build your life so full, they notice your absence because it's no longer possible to reach you in the same way. And that's how you reclaim value, by becoming unavailable to anyone who's not consistent, by becoming uninterested in anything that doesn't align with your peace, and by becoming unaffected by the same patterns that once controlled your every move. And that kind of transformation can't be faked. It's felt in the way you move now, with presence, not desperation, with clarity, not confusion, with purpose, not performance. And suddenly the same people who used to ignore you start noticing, but it's too late, because you're not seeking attention, you're building legacy, and they were just a chapter, not the story. And this story is now being written by someone who knows their worth, someone who speaks with conviction and walks with calm, someone who doesn't get shaken by silence or seduced by chaos, because they've tasted their own power, and it's more satisfying than any text back, any apology, any recycled connection that once made you question your reflection. And this is the core of it all. When you reclaim your value, you stop being scared of losing people, because the only thing you fear now is losing yourself. And that fear is sacred, because it guards your standards, it protects your growth, and it reminds you that love isn't meant to hurt like this. And if it does, it's not love, it's dependency, and you're done with that. And as you rise, they will feel it, and some will try to return, but you don't let them in, because you know what? It cost you to finally feel peace again, and no one who disturbed that peace gets a second chance. And the ones who truly see your worth won't wait until it's too late. They'll meet you where you are without games, without confusion, without guilt. And until then, you keep rising, you keep growing, and you keep reminding yourself that walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom, because the one who reclaims their value never settles again. Number 6. When and how to respond. Most aren't ready for the moment she finally reaches out again because they spent the entire time waiting, hoping, refreshing, convincing themselves they moved on, while secretly fantasizing about this exact scenario. And then it happens. The name lights up the screen, the old nickname, the casual text, as if nothing happened, as if weeks or months of silence don't carry weight, as if the unanswered messages, the change in tone, the coldness, the shift was all just a misunderstanding. And in that moment, everything inside you wants to respond immediately, wants to fill the gap with words that prove you're still open, still understanding, still available, still affected. And this is where most fall back into the very cycle that destroyed their confidence in the first place. Because what you do now is not about the reply. It's about whether you finally learned what her absence was supposed to teach you, or if you're still hoping she's changed when you know deep down she hasn't. And it's not bitterness, it's awareness. Because the same people who disappear without explanation will return without accountability. And if you accept that return, without principle, without boundaries, without clarity, you don't win her back. You lose yourself again. And the reply becomes the doorway, not just to conversation, but to repetition. Because unless you've changed your standard, you're not answering with strength, you're answering with emotion. And emotion makes you type, what principle would delete? And your principle has to be this. You are not an option. You are not a backup plan. You are not a placeholder. You are not a convenience, and any connection that left you confused now requires clarity. Not comfort, not casual banter, not nostalgic laughs, but a full understanding that you're no longer the version of yourself that settles for being remembered only when it's convenient for her. And if you don't feel that confidence, if your hands still shake, if your chest still tightens, if your mind still hopes, then you're not ready to respond. Because responding from hope is different than responding from healing. And healing means you no longer need the outcome to define your peace. Healing means you see the message. You smile, maybe even feel something, but your actions don't shift. Your mood doesn't swing, and your day doesn't pause because that message doesn't own your energy anymore. And this is how you know you've changed, when her presence no longer moves you off your path. And if you do decide to respond, do it with clarity, not confusion. Speak with calm, not performance. Respond because you choose, not because you fear losing her again. And that message should not validate her decision to walk away. It should reinforce your decision to evolve. It should come from a place of grounded reflection, not emotional reaction. And if she truly wants back into your life, she will show up with more than words. Because re-entry requires responsibility. And if she doesn't take any, then she's not coming back, she's circling. And circles are how you get dizzy and waste more time. And you're done spinning, aren't you? Because the version of you who waited around for someone to make up their mind is gone, replaced by someone who no longer entertains energy that left without explanation and reappears without growth. And this is where most get caught. They confuse a message with a miracle. They confuse attention with change. They confuse access with love. But love isn't proven by who texts back. It's proven by who grows up. And growth doesn't mean just showing up. It means acknowledging what went wrong, what wasn't fair, what wasn't communicated, and rebuilding from truth. Not nostalgia, not chemistry, not convenience. And if that's not happening, then the message means nothing. It's a distraction disguised as hope. And you have to be ruthless with what you allow into your space now, because your peace took too long to build, to be shattered by someone who treated it like an option. And this is what strength looks like, not ignoring her, not blocking her, not pretending she never mattered, but facing the message with clarity and asking yourself, do I need to go back to something that nearly made me forget who I am, or do I hold the standard that my future deserves? Because sometimes silence is the answer, not as punishment, but as proof that the door she once walked out of no longer leads to the same man. And if you've grown, if you've healed, if you've truly reclaimed your value, then your response is either a clean no or a conditional yes, with boundaries that cannot be broken and standards that cannot be bent. Because if someone wants access to you now, they need to bring consistency, not charm. They need to bring effort, not ease. They need to show they've done the work, not just felt the regret. And if they can't do that, then you keep walking not out of anger, but out of alignment, because peace is now the price of entry, and your life no longer negotiates with those who only respect you when you're gone. And this is how you reclaim your power, not by who reaches out, but by how you respond. And if she truly sees your worth now, then she will rise to meet you. And if she doesn't, then you don't fall, you don't flinch, you don't fold, you keep moving forward, because this journey was never about proving your value to her. It was about remembering it for yourself, and now you finally have. If you've made it this far, it means something inside you is done pretending, done begging, done chasing, done living on her approval like oxygen, and deep down, you know this version of you isn't sustainable. It's either evolve or stay trapped in the same cycles that have stolen your peace, wasted your time, and made you question your worth. And that's why the Stoic relationship blueprint exists. Not to comfort you, but to wake you up, filled with timeless principles that society hopes you'll never discover. Because the moment you apply what's inside, you become unshakable, untouchable, and completely free. And now it's available in audiobook format, so you can carry this transformation in your pocket. Listen while you walk, train, drive, or grind. And remind yourself daily who you're becoming. So if you're ready to rebuild from the inside out, comment, "I choose myself." Grab the audiobook in the comments, like this video, and subscribe so more men can find this truth and stop wasting years begging breadcrumbs.